Let's see. TYT thinks we won't believe where this stunning Morning Joe rant goes. Let's see if we believe it or not.
When 40% of U.S. households are struggling with some sort of medical or dental debt, when a quarter or 20% of households with kids are food insecure, and yet we have one man, Jensen Huang, and I like Jensen, who is now worth more than Boeing.
Dang.
I mean, something is wrong here. The average tax rate on the wealthiest 25 Americans is 6%. Corporate tax rates are at their lowest point since 1939. Now, the bottom 50% don't pay much federal income tax, but they pay a lot in usage and consumption taxes. But this misdirect talking about tax rates misses the point. It's the tax code, which has gone from 400 pages to 4,000. And that 3,600 pages, quite frankly, is there to screw the middle class and continue to transfer more money to the super wealthy. The fastest growing demographic group in America is not seniors. It's not Latins. It's billionaires. We had 500 billionaires 10 years ago. We now have 2,500. So if you want to cram more and more wealth into a smaller group of people, we're on our way.
So here's another useful.
But that's kind of like the American dream. It was just the landowners having say. Everyone had their little plantation. So every plantation was like a little dictatorship, right?
Statistic to wrap your head around just how broken the American economy is. The typical Fortune 500 CEO had already made more money by January 2nd than the average U.S. worker will make this entire year.
We did it, guys. We did it. We made it. Capitalism is working so well. Look at these 500 people making more than the average American. What's that? 175 million people?
Fun. Galloway also stated that he believes income inequality is always self-correcting, but how that self-correcting takes place is not always pretty. Here's the clip.
The good news is it's self-correcting. This level of income inequality is usually self-correcting.
It'll handle itself.
The bad news is the means of self-correction are typically war, famine, or revolution. These individuals have weaponized government, and we risk revolution, whether it's CEOs being murdered in the street, whether it's a Me Too movement that had righteous components of it, or Black Lives Matter. What are these movements? They are targeting the wealthy.
Let's do a green revolution. Everybody call your local Green Party. Join the local Green Party. Sign up to run for something. Run for your school district. Run for your mayor. Run for your state senate or your federal senate. Anything. Run for something, or find somebody who's good at talking and have them run. Support. Let's make the revolution bloodless and very, very green.
We are in the midst of a series of small revolutions to correct income inequality. And the reason we put an insurrectionist and a rapist in office is because
our other choice would put you behind bars with just a stroke of her pen. These people are nuts.
For the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30.
It's not the first time. It's been like that for probably about 30 years now. This is probably about the third set of 30-year-olds that aren't doing as well as their parents.
So it wasn't just Galloway who was criticizing the billionaire class. We have criticized Joe Scarborough many times on this show, but today we'll give him a little bit of credit for what you're about to see. Take a look at this.
What does Joe do?
And I say this as a small government conservative. This is a threat to American capitalism.
Yes.
We can look at a lot of different threats facing this country, but moving towards this sort of oligarchy.
Moving towards the oligarchy. America started as an oligarchy. Only the rich white men had any say. Rich. Not even just regular white men, not even poor white men, just the rich white men. This is an oligarchy. It started from oligarchy. Capitalism is fascism, is oligarchy, is monarchy. It's all the same. They just use different words.
With all of these monopolies, and I've always told the story,
and each plantation, like I said, it was its own little dictatorship. It was its own monopoly. They monopolized their spot, their little place in life, and they got to live like little kings.
During COVID, somebody called me up and said, "Hey, you need to invest in the stock market." I go, "I don't really do that. I don't trust the stock market. I don't want." He goes, "Just invest in the monopolies." I go, "The monopolies?" He goes, "Yeah,
Facebooks,
Meta. Invest in Meta." and Amazon and Microsoft and he
Walmart.
named 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And they're like you just said, they're monopolies. Lena Khan tried to break it up, and you seriously would have thought
You shouldn't break up monopolies. You should nationalize it. If you make a business so big that it's the thing that it is, right? Oh my gosh, Walmart is so huge, you can't beat the prices. Just nationalize it now. It's the United States store that we all just go to.
Thought that Karl Marx was marching down, Wall Street, and you combine that combination that you're talking about with the fact that billionaires are getting richer and richer by the second.
And we ain't.
All right, so kind of interesting, John, how these ideas that we've been talking about on this network for so long are finally becoming a bit more mainstream, maybe. And it's an interesting shift, but that's maybe the frustrating part of being a so-called progressive. By definition, you're always pushing ideas and concepts and waiting for everyone else to catch up. So, John, do you think that these ideas will catch on in any kind of
It is frustrating being a progressive. I've always been ahead of the game, been like, man, almost everything I say, like 10 years later, people are like, man, you were right. Gosh, it is
Do you think maybe they're already starting to make inroads with people, because we are starting to see people on both sides of the aisle look at these millionaires and billionaires and say, this isn't fair. I'm struggling. Why have they made more money than I'm going to make in a year by January 2nd?
Because they're better than you.
I think
us.
I think there's like multiple levels for that. I think that, yes, undoubtedly, the concern, the frustration about the distribution of resources, about income inequality is spreading. I think it doesn't always produce what would seem to be a sensible political outcome, but I think it partially explains the result of the presidential election. So I think even MAGA people are getting frustrated. They're seeing, I mean, look, they've been as indoctrinated as anyone to believe that billionaires are inherently better than them. But eventually,
Has he ever heard anybody talk about Elon Musk? He's like the daddy of all daddies. Elon Musk is the best person to ever live. He's so smart, he's going to take this country to all kinds of new heights.
If you're struggling to feed your family, there'll start to be some cracks in that, and it'll take more than just a Sean Hannity monologue to make you think that it's better that there are more billionaires and you literally can never own a home. And the reason I mentioned Sean Hannity is because he, on his radio show this week, was like worried that he's hearing MAGA people talking about wanting to tax the rich. And he was like trying to reassure them, no. Our populism is fake. You seem to want real populism, and we're not interested in that. You can't tax the rich. I'm rich. I make $25 million a year. And so that was nice.
I'd like to tax the rich a lot more.
Taking root more broadly, I don't follow Scott Galloway's work a ton. I will assume that this is consistent with what he's been doing. For Joe Scarborough, it feels almost too convenient that it's happening now. So, like, you can have the right position, but when do you have it and what do you want to do about it? Like, it is way easier to advocate for this sort of thing when the Democrats won't be in charge and can't...
like the Democrats would do something. What? TYT is so silly. You guys are supposed to... She said it's so hard being a progressive because everyone takes too long to keep up. And then he's going to talk about doing stuff when the Democrats aren't in charge because, like, the Democrats would do something when they were in charge. Slap yourself, please.
Or to do anything about it. Like, you can talk about the stuff Trump isn't doing anything about it. And will he be advocating for these same sorts of things when the Democratic primary next time around rolls around?
It matters. Is he going to advocate for the Green Party? Is he going to advocate for the Democratic Socialists of America? Is he going to advocate for somebody who actually cares about the people? Oh, is he going to for your Green Party? Is he going to the Democratic Party the next time? No, it doesn't matter. The Democratic Party, let me see.
It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society.
Just to show who he's talking about, like they're going to do something good for us if they win.
Going to be advocating for like a Bernie Sanders or an AOC? Or is all this talk about billionaires going to fade away and then they're just going to be going for whichever?
Bernie Sanders or AOC, one, Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat. And AOC has moved right under Mama Bear's wing. She's not she's not. I don't know if she's a progressive anymore.
Ever Democratic centrist governor is being promoted by the party next time around. Like, having the position is good. It's not primary next time around rolls around. Are they going to be advocating about it? Like, you can talk about the stuff. Trump isn't doing anything about it. And will he be advocating for these same sorts of things when the Democratic primary next time around rolls around? Are they going to be advocating for like a Bernie Sanders or an AOC? Or is all this talk about billionaires going to fade away, and then they're just going to be going for whichever Democratic centrist governor is being promoted by the party?
Which Democrat is not a centrist? You got the squad. You got like 4 or 5 people who act like they're progressives, and maybe 1 or 2 are.
Next time around, like, having the position is good. It's not everything. You have to actually learn from it, and that remains to be seen whether that's going to happen.
Yeah, and Joe Scarborough, he's in a kind of a tepid position right now because
he's going to talk about backing the Democrats to get rid of billionaires, and then say about learning something. How much money did Kamala Harris bring in? And she brought in almost none from regular people.
The Trump administration is incoming. Joe, I believe, still identifies at least as a fiscal conservative. And we know that he's definitely in a different tax bracket than most Americans are. So he has his priorities in one place, but he's reporting on MSNBC, which is still, as far as we know, a left-wing outlet or a left-leaning outlet.
Oh my gosh. So now you can see if somebody, TYT, if they're going to call, what was it, MSNBC or NBC, either one, if they call either one a left-leaning outlet, not even progressive, like you can maybe get away with trying to call them progressive, progressivism isn't all the way left, or blah, blah, blah. But to call them left, they are not anti-capitalist, they are not anti-establishment, they are not left-wing in any way, shape, or form.
But he's reporting on MSNBC, which is still, as far as we know, a left-wing outlet.
As far as we know, never has been. Bullshit, lady. Bullshit. You're lying. They are not a left-wing. And then that shows you that if you call your TYT is not left-wing, you're not going to be a fascist outlet and then call other people fascist when they're not, because you want to show what fascism is. You're not going to be a left-wing outlet. You're not going to be a communist outlet. You're not going to be a capitalist outlet and call somebody else that isn't what you are, right? Because then you're giving misleading examples of what leftism is. If she wants to be, they're saying they're a leftist, right? This channel, but then they're going to tell you that centrists are leftists, so that makes them look more left because they're not on the left, they're centrists. You would never do this if you were genuine. So TYT is right here. She is telling you they are not a left-wing channel. They are not a progressive channel. They are in line with MSNBC because they're going to call MSNBC left. That means that to them that is left because it's BS, man. So that's her telling you TYT is a centrist channel.
And they got a lot of flack, Joe and his wife Mika, and specifically those two, for going and trying to make nice or play nice with Trump. And so I wonder if he's like trying to teeter that line a little bit. Scott Galloway is like he does touch on a lot more progressive ideals. He's an NYU professor. I think he's not quite as far left as some other people might want him to be, but he is like left enough that he would be the guy to bring out some of these ideas on a mainstream show like MSNBC. But what is funny, what we're seeing now is Trump is making all these insane headlines about how he wants to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico and he wants to declare war on
the Gulf of
Denmark
America
and take over the Panama Canal. All these things that he's saying. And all up in the comments, people are like, how is this going to bring down the price of eggs, right? Like, I feel like the veil is starting to fall. Maybe.
And then, again, on this channel, I've said how it would be nice if she said go to war with Denmark. We're not going to go to war with Denmark. We want to buy Greenland from Denmark. If this was Bernie Sanders as president, and Bernie Sanders was like, we want to bring the world together. We're going to bring Canada and help Canada. We're going to bring their drug prices to America and make Canada and America one big place. And we're going to buy Greenland from Denmark. If Bernie Sanders was saying all this, she would have such a different tone. Like, I don't care who does the right thing. Like, Jake and them talking all that stuff. Like, they're not even talking about the right stuff. Like, Trump did Space Force. Who doesn't want to go to space and do space stuff? Like, unless you believe there is no space, fine. But if you believe there's outer space, we need to go to outer space. We need to Star Trek style stuff, right? That is the future. Just because Trump did it, people make fun of it. If we want a one world, if we want the workers of the world to unite, if we want to have everybody in the world to be on the same page and no more wars, then we need to buy Greenland. We need to buy Canada. We need to buy Mexico. We need to buy every state, every place until it's all one thing. And not just us, like, but not with war, with resources and with love. Like, I mean, obviously Trump isn't going to buy Greenland with love, but not with war. Just give Denmark some money. Say, hey, we want the resources. We're going to pay you for it. Something like that, like we did Alaska. If we had kept doing that, if we had kept expanding down into Mexico, if the border should be the very south tip of South America, and then there would be no illegal immigration. We would just have the United States of Americas. It would be wonderful.
A few months too late. Maybe it would have been nicer if this happened a few months ago, right before November, maybe. But
because why?
California's Attorney General Harris promoted enforcement of a law that allowed prosecutors to seek jail time for parents of truant kids.
As a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, how can you lock parents up?
If you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
I opened the door and I see at least 7 or 8 cops that wanted to arrest me. As a matter of fact, they did.
And frankly, you know the prosecutors in my office who volunteered to do this? My homicide prosecutors.
Can't get
my
enough
gang
of your love,
prosecutors.
Baby.
And I went over there and I said, when you go over there, look really mean.
She had me
scared people. This is who we want.
Prosecuted because my handicapped daughter was sick in the hospital and had missed some days of school.
I learned that with the swipe of my pen,
I could
charge someone with the lowest level offense. That person could be arrested. They could lose time from work, and their family maybe lose their job. They'd have to come out of their own pocket to help hire a lawyer. They lose standing in their community.
I lost my job and couldn't pay rent, and we got evicted.
Weeks later, I could dismiss the charges.
Poof.
But their life would forever be changed.
I became homeless.
Forever.
We had to move into a motel.
All because of the swipe of my pen.
I don't agree what Kamala Harris did to my mom. And I don't agree with what she's done to other parents as well.
You were second in charge of the United States for 4 years.
Now, when channels like TYT call MSNBC progressive, or try to say they're left, or Kamala's left or progressive, or the Democrats are left or progressive in any way, shape, or form, please remember these clips I've just put in here, these commercials. Kamala does not care about you. She is not a populist. She is not a progressive. She is not on the left. She is a capitalist who cares about money and making it to the top. Let's let TYT continue, though.
I think maybe this is the shift that needed to happen just to wake people up, and maybe we'll get there 4 years from now. So,
get to the Democrats 4 years from now.
We move on to our last.
These people, if you're not talking about the Green Party, the Democratic Socialists of America, or even the Libertarian Party, you're not talking about anything. If you're not talking about, at least, I mean, there's other parties maybe, I don't know, but we need to build at least 2 of these 3 parties. The one left-wing party, and the Libertarians, I would say, are the right-wing that are kind of like outside the establishment, right? The actual right-wing, non-establishment people are normally kind of libertarians, but as green, in 4 years from now, you're going to put in somebody like Kamala Harris. So with the swipe of her pen, imagine Donald Trump saying that stuff. What you just heard Kamala Harris say. Imagine it. What these people would say about him. But because it's the Democrats, we got to play like they're left wing, sweep that under the rug.
I certainly hope so. Again, and that wouldn't be any justification. Like, that wouldn't make it good that it happened, but we should try to draw, even from terrible events, any good that can possibly come. It is our job in the media, and it's the job of everyone watching this that cares about what happens in America, to do whatever it is that we can with whatever platform we have to make sure that when it comes around to choosing candidates, advocating for policies and platforms the next time around, we make sure that people learn the right lesson from the experience of 2024, and not the lesson that likely the Democratic establishment is going to want them to learn.
Wow, that he could say that, and these people are going to tell you that MSNBC is progressive and that we need to vote Democrat to save the republic or democracy or whatever, this and that. It just goes to show you that they're not really watching or learning from across the spectrum.